Aloha, welcome back, beautiful souls. So I've become obsessed with this YouTube channel, and this is how my mind starts to work. Everything that I'm doing now in my life, I have like a continuous stream of thoughts of things that I want to share with you, and I feel like I can't really get anything done because like I gotta make a video. I gotta share this. This is important before it leaves my mind, you know? And I write it down. I keep a notepad constantly of things I want to say and write, but sometimes it's like in the moment, it's so good. It's in my head. I'm like, this is so good. So anyway, that's what I was doing. I was working out at home and just was going through, and I was like, all right, stop, make this video. So the title of this video is OG, I Really Am the Creator. And that actually came from my guides years ago. There's a collective group of light beings. They go by the name of Atya, and they were around me for a few years, giving me lots of guidance, and they were funny. They had a sense of humor like me, and little sarcastic like me, actually had a potty mouth a little bit like me, but they said, you know, like, that's how I could receive a message, was they were almost mirroring how I communicate back to me, which was really brilliant because then I could receive it. And I used to ask, this was going back, you know, about 10 years ago when I was really starting to have these awakenings, and when my name came through and why I'm here and my purpose and all this stuff, and I used to question. They used to kind of, they didn't make fun of me. I won't say make fun, but they used to poke at me and saying, like, you're always questioning, like you are the seeker of understanding. And I've always been that way since I can remember. You know, in school, I'd always raise my hand, and it was, why? I'd always want to know, why? How come? Why? Explain that. And my whole life until I kind of, really, that was just like in the recent couple of years when I've kind of just went from like questioning everything to just coming to a place within of knowing. And it's really such an amazing feeling when you get to that place. It's like, it's almost like you can relax. It's like, all right, I don't need to question everything. And I'm not saying that questioning is bad, because I think questioning and having discernment is key as you're waking up and as you're navigating through this world of duality and moving into dimensions, third, fourth, fifth dimension, and just you have to question, you know. You can't just take things on blind faith, and just because someone's a teacher or a guru and they say something to you doesn't mean that it's true. And maybe it's true for them, but maybe it's not true for you. And you know, what is truth anyway? So here I'm going off on these tangents, but I believe that as far as truth goes, I believe that truth, there's two kinds of truth. There's truth with the small t and truth with the capital T. And truth with the small t is not black and white. It's gray. It's based on an individual person. So some things can be true for them and some things cannot be true for somebody else. So it's based on individual perception and experience, and yeah, that's truth with a small t. And as you're awakening and going on your journey, it's important that you understand that. Like, you don't have to take everything in as truth. It has to really resonate with you. And that also will change. So sometimes something that was not true for you could change as you awaken. And I'm going to give an example of that. But just before I forget, the truth with a capital T, I believe that there is an ultimate highest, and maybe the truth is the wrong word, but reality in which the universe and the multiverse is created from, which is a sacred geometry, absolute type of truth, and that there is no variable. So I don't know if you understand that. And I'm going to go into later in this video the law of attraction, which is one of the universal laws, which is a true truth of the capital T. But going back to the little truth with a small t, an example for me was early on in my starting to wake up when I started to teach yoga. It was back in 2003, and I had been teaching yoga for a couple of years and started to go to a Buddhist meditation center and starting to learn how to meditate, and just in the very, very beginning. And I was going to all of these workshops, and I was just a sponge, like absorbing. I wanted to learn everything. It was like I was starting to wake up. I was like, I want to know about this and this and this and this, and I couldn't get enough, right? So I remember I was at one of these Omega workshops, and I think I was in Miami, and I went to see this speaker, Don Miguel Ruiz, which I mentioned his book, The Four Agreements, in another one of my videos, which is a book that's very powerful and it changed my life. And I was so excited to see him in person. And I remember sitting in the audience, and he got up on stage, and I believe he was with his father. There was two of them, and they were related. And I remember they kept saying, everything that you know is a lie. And everything in this world is a dream. And it's all a lie. So just basically like throw it all away. And I don't really remember much else except that they kept saying this over and over again. And I was thinking, like, are they smoking something? Like, are they on something? Like, what is the deal? Like, I did not resonate with them at all. And I was like, totally like turned off. And I was just like, oh, this is a bummer. Okay, whatever. It's all a lie. This is just all a dream. It's all make-believe. Okay. So just kind of let that go, and it was a big disappointment. And then had to be at least a decade, like 10 years later, I was on this, I continued on my studies and my awakening and my self-learning and growth. And I remember they came out with their second book. It's called The Fifth Agreement. And I took it out from the library and I read it. And the fifth agreement is everything is a dream. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is what they were saying in this workshop years ago. And I didn't believe them. I didn't understand it. And as I was reading this book, I wasn't 100% understanding it yet, but I was a lot more understanding it than what I had been 10 years prior. So I was like, oh, this makes sense now. This kind of is a lie, and everything kind of is a dream, So what I'm saying is, truth for me at that time, what they were saying was not true for me. It didn't resonate with me. But fast forward 10 years, and I had more awareness and more consciousness and more growth in my spiritual development, that I received it, and I was like, oh, this is true, I get it. So that's what I'm trying to make a differentiation between things that can be true and cannot be true, and then there's certain absolute reality that's just true. It just is. And one of those laws is called the law of attraction. You might be familiar with this because when The Secret came out years ago, that famous documentary, which I have a whole story about that, because I was personally coached by Bob Proctor for a while. He's one of the teachers in The Secret. He wrote the book Born to Be Rich. That's a whole nother video. So so The Secret came out, and that was like a big success, and then all these books came out around that and around the law of attraction. Of course, if you follow Abraham, Esther Hicks, she's all about the law of attraction. I read all her books, and I became a law of attraction practitioner, got my little certificate. And so it's so funny, like there's so many courses around this, and it's just like so simple. And as humans, you know, we have a way of like taking something that's simple and making like this huge thing around it. Like, let's do a 12-week course and training on the law of attraction. It's like, okay, it's just basically, it's been spoken in many other ways, like what goes around comes around. The law of the circle, the law of one, you know, you reap what you sow. You know, it's like there's so many ways to describe it, and I think we can all, what I do like about the law of attraction is that I think in general, if you're not a religious or spiritual person, most people do believe that that's true. Like there's some truth to that. You know, like if you're a really negative, grumpy person and you just walk around putting off that energy, most likely you're going to have kind of bad experiences or meet people that are just kind of negative and grumpy too, right? You know, if you're a happy, joyful, light-filled, fun person, you're going around life like that, most likely you're going to experience the same thing, right? We kind of, that's just like a general, like, yeah, that makes sense. So that's why I like teaching the law of attraction, because it's something that's not so, it's not a trigger for most people. You know, it's something that most people can easily accept. And so going back to OG, I really am the creator, my spirit guides, Atya, they said, you know what, Soulfire, we have a name, a really good name for your next sunflower, meaning book. How about OG, I really am the creator? And it's because I had asked them if I had created this rainbow, right? Because there was a time in my life where I was just like obsessed with rainbows, and every time I think of one, I'd see one, and I'd be like, wow, did I create that? And they were just like, oh, yes, beloved, you created that. And I was like, really? How can I create a rainbow? You know, like, okay, I believe that there's certain things like I've created in my life, but like a rainbow? And so when you start to wake up like this, you realize like, yeah, there's no limit to your creation, because you're an eternal being. You're this infinite being. Like within our core, we're infinite. But in our human body and our ego mind, we put ourselves in a box with all these limitations, but our true essence is infinite. And there's so much untapped power that, you know, we don't utilize. I mean, why do we only use 5% of our brain, or I don't know, 10%, whatever it is? I always question that. You know, nobody can answer me. My biology class, every class, why do we use only part of our brain? That doesn't make sense to me. You know, hands up. No one can ever give me answers to things. I question everything, from religion to science to math, and I don't understand why. And I did find out the answer to the whole brain thing, but that again is a whole nother video, a tangent, which maybe or maybe I won't make. But yeah, so there's this untapped potential within all of us, and I think that's so exciting. You know, exciting to know. To me, it's like, yeah, there's amazing things out there to explore and discover and to witness and experience, but there's so much within us. So much more within us that we have not even tapped into, so much that we can explore within, like the power of our mind and the power of our intention as creators. So to me, that's exciting. To me, it's like, what kind of alchemy can I create? What can I create using my untapped potential, that divine potential within our DNA, our divine natural abilities? So basically, the law of attraction works like everything starts with your thought. And every time you have a thought, it's like the ripple effect. So, you know, when you just throw a little pebble into a still body of water like a lake, and you see how it ripples out, like it makes those circles and it ripples out. It's the same thing with your thought. When you have a thought, it goes out, bing, into the world, and it makes these little ripple effects. And every thought you have creates a new reality, a reality within the reality. And that's why your thoughts are so powerful. And then when you take that thought and combine it with a feeling, with the emotion, then the feeling is the fuel behind that thought. So like a thought in itself is powerful, but it doesn't have as much power until you connect it with the feeling behind it. And then it's like really powerful. And so your thought with your feeling and intention, and then you follow it up with an action towards what you're trying to experience or create in your life. That's how the law of attraction works. I give you an example of the feeling behind the thought. So this is going to be a long video, I could tell right now. So during the time when I was a mortgage broker, it was, like about around 2005, I was trying to help these people refinance their home. And it was right before Christmas, the holidays, and they were really in a tight spot, and they really needed this refi. And somehow, like the banks were just holding things up and the paperwork, and there was some, I don't remember everything, but I remember it was going to be nearly impossible, right, to get this done in time. And I remember like two things. One, I really, really wanted to help them, like I genuinely wanted them to get that refi. And the other thing is, I really needed to make that commission. But that was never my priority. Like money was always secondary for me, but I needed help, I needed to make income. I was like hardly making any money, and this was like, I was 100% like on a sales job. And I remember that night going to bed and thinking, oh my God, like doing my prayers and my meditation, and I put it out to the universe. I was really frustrated, and I was just like, I need this, and I need this now. And I was just like, it was frustration and like almost like anger, and just like, damn it, it has to happen. It has to happen now. Like, make this happen, universe. And the next day I walked into the office, and my boss called me in. He's like, you're never gonna believe this. I'm like, what? He's like, the bank approved the loan for so-and-so. I'm like, really? Oh my God. He's like, yeah, call them in. Tell them to come in. We're going to sign the papers and celebrate. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. And they came in, and they did all the paperwork. They were so grateful. I think they brought us like a bottle of champagne, and they were like almost in tears and hugging us. And it was like we saved their home. And it was just like, I remember thinking, wow, that was pretty freaking amazing. And how it happened like instantly once I became like so focused and feeling like this better fucking happen, like now, universe, because I am not playing anymore. Like I needed this to happen. And it wasn't just in my head, it was like my feeling, like it was like my whole body was like, roar, So there's been many times in my life where I've come to a place, it's almost like you're backed in the corner, or almost like you just need something to happen so badly, and then you put it out there in an instantaneous manifestation. Whew. So I wanted to share that with you about being the creator. And I wanted to end with this last thing, like, because I had this, maybe I won't put this on this video and save it for the next one, because this is becoming a very long video and I went off on many tangents. So I think I'm going to save this next important part of the piece for the next video. Whew. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this was helpful, and I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, any experience you've had in manifesting, and yeah, just share with me back. So I know you're out there and you're listening and you're receiving my wisdom and my guidance. So namaste and aloha. The soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. To learn more about my offerings, visit my website at igniteyoursoulfire.com. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below, my soul family. Thank you for being here on our precious planet Gaia at this time. Your light matters. You matter. You make a difference in the world by just being you. Ahuiho, until our hearts meet again. You are loved.